Diffusion control detection of trinitrotoluene, interior nanoporous structure, and low-highest occupied molecular orbital level of building blocks enhance selectivity and sensitivity. Now, I'm not a scientist or a chemist, and when I first read these words, I had no idea what they meant. I also did not know how much they would influence my career path. In 2010, as a recent MBA grad, I knew the direction I wanted to take. I'd previously worked in the retail world and even opened a furniture store. But after managing teenagers and fastening hundreds of price tags, I wanted to do something different. I wanted to start an organization that offered a new technology that would help the world, instead of another store that sold shoes or frozen yogurt. But where in the world do you find a completely new and unique technology? I started looking at our nation's universities and national labs. Each year, the United States government spends over $15 billion to scientists at these institutions to perform basic research. While this may seem like a lot of money, it's actually a bargain, considering it's resulted in innovations such as GPS, vaccines, the internet, and accelerometers that make your car airbag deploy and your Nintendo Wii remote hit a virtual tennis ball. I had the opportunity to move back to Utah, where I worked with dozens of these federally funded scientists, and there I found a unique technology. But I was hesitant to start a company because it is so difficult to take a new scientific breakthrough and turn it into a product people use. It takes funding, licensing deals, hiring really smart technologists, and even taking a small, if any, salary. But I took the plunge, and while my MBA classmates were cashing big checks from their Wall Street jobs, I moved into my parents' basement to conserve cash. And I must say, my wife didn't anticipate that after my Ivy League education, she would be having our third child while residing at the in-laws. Fortunately, she's great and she supports me in this strange career path that I've chosen. While the technology has a ways to go and there's unknowns, with the right team and effort, it will make it. And today, I get to share with you the discovery. It starts with red paint. It accents living room walls and gives sports cars their appeal. It's bold, it's bright, it's beautiful, and it's hard to miss. So it's no wonder that it's standing out in an entirely new and unexpected way, one that could be a complete game changer and benefit mankind. You see, the unique molecular structure of some red paint can be modified for totally unrelated applications. For example, what you see here on the screen is not red paint. It's the result of years of scientific research of our technical team to take that molecule and turn it into a highly advanced sensor chip. One that could be inserted into a handheld device that can be used to sniff chemicals like a dog does. It's essentially an electronic nose that is thousands of times more sensitive than a human nose. And this is our prototype. Now, where would you use this? Imagine a security guard that sees an abandoned backpack at a crowded event and no longer having to call in a canine unit dog to sniff that bag for danger. Or a soldier in the field that can sniff a suspect's hands to see if the suspect has been building explosives. Or a border crossing official that could sniff the outside of a car for trace amounts of illegal narcotics. There are many possibilities. It could be used for quality control. You know, some of you may enjoy the smell of a glass of whiskey. But would you enjoy that if you had to smell it hundreds of times a day, day after day? Probably not. Whiskey manufacturers need people to do this important but difficult job. Tell you what, this electronic nose has the potential to just love sniffing whiskey and to decipher the quality from batch to batch and barrel to barrel. So how in the world do you go from looking at paint to sniffing whiskey? This is the molecule of some red oil paint. We take that core molecule and modify the side group so that it becomes sticky to bombs and drugs and other chemicals. We then place it in a solution which causes it to grow and grow and grow into these long fibers. With all these fibers growing, it turns into this mesh or this net. Now, it kind of looks like floating ramen noodles or cotton candy, but they all come in these different beautiful red hues. We can suck them up out of the solution and then set them out to dry so that an unsuspecting drug molecule can come along and it can capture it. But how do we know that it's actually caught it? And I mean, how does this thing work? Well, to find out, we have to zoom into the nanoscale. So we place the fibers on our sensor chip. If we zoom into the surface of this electrode, you can't really see the fibers. You can just see this human hair that was placed here as a reference. At 400 times magnification, you begin to see the fibers. They're actually about 1,000 times smaller than this human hair. At 1,500 times magnification, the hair looks like this giant mountain. Now, these images were actually taken with a $2 million scanning electron microscope, which uses an electron beam to capture images than visual light, and I added color to these pictures for this presentation. Finally, we zoom into 40,000 times magnification, and you can see how this nanoporous structure could act like a web that catches floating molecules, similar to how a spider web catches flying insects. Now imagine this. It's amazing that we can see this. If you had 40,000 times magnification, I mean, you could see little fibers in your hand or things far away. You could be sitting on Delicate Arch 250 miles from here reading a book in my hand on stage. This capability allows us to see other fibers. This is your hot pink barbed wire fiber. It's kind of like your 80s rock band name. Well, this next one is your cotton candy, your red cotton candy. It's light, it's fluffy, it's sticky, but it conducts electricity, so you want to stay away from this one at the carnival. And because it conducts electricity, we can stick them on our sensor chip. And when we put the sensor chip on our device, we send an electrical current through it, and when it sniffs in a drug molecule, it actually captures that molecule, and it captures its electrons. And as more and more electrons are caught, that electrical signal increases. And our little handheld device recognizes that signal and can tell the user that a chemical is present, even though that user may not even be able to see a chemical. Now you know how to turn the molecule of some red paint into a highly advanced bomb-sniffing electronic nose. And your homework assignment is to join me in translating scientific language and translating this scientific breakthroughs into products our community can use. It may not be easy, but it certainly is fascinating and a whole lot of fun. Thank you.